Hello and welcome to Verdictum. I am Ananya Singh and today we have with us senior advocate Mr. M.B. Nargund. Sir specializes in civil and constitutional matters and has been practicing law since 1982, a recipient of the Kannada Rajyotsav Award and having held the position of Additional Solicitor General of India for the state of Karnataka. Today he is going to talk to us about fundamental rights and duties. He will highlight on the interconnection and conflict between the two. True source of right is duty, as Mohandas Gandhi has said. And on that note, I welcome you, sir, to Verdictum. It's a pleasure to have you talk to us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ananya. Let me have the pleasure of discussing with you.
Sir, the first thing that I would like to ask you is how do you describe the Indian society?
Wonderful question. In order to describe the Indian society, instead of putting it in my words, I borrow the ideas and the words of Justice Rama Joyce, which he has described the Indian society in a book. See, basically the Indian society is based upon a duty-based society. The Indian society is never being recognized as a right-based society. On the other hand, the Western society is based upon the right-based society. The duty comes later. I may explain. Pitru Dharma means father's duty. Matru Dharma, mother's duty. See, what is this father's duty? Apart from the rest of the other things to look after the family, this, that, everything, very interestingly, it is the father's duty to see that the child is being grown in a proper, and he should get a proper education. It is a father's duty. The year 1988, just for the information, under Article 51A, this A bracket K was introduced in the year 1988 to give education, which is the responsibility of a parent between the age of 6 to 40. Like that, Pitru Dharma, Matru Dharma, then it comes, when they become old, it is the duty of the son to look after the father. Incidentally, if you can go back, there is one provision under the Hindu Succession Act and in Hindu law to the effect that the pious obligation. It is the responsibility of the son who inherits the property to take the responsibility of the father or the family and to see that if there are any obligations that should be resolved. In the year 2005, our Supreme Court taken a different view. But what happened? In the year 2009, once again, we have to come for the senior citizenship rights. Therefore, the Indian society is basic character, if somebody asks, is duty-based society. Over to you, Ananya.
Sir, they say that with great power comes great responsibility. Can we say the same when we talk about the rights and duties that have been provided to us by our legal system? Do they also go hand in hand?
Perfectly. Your question contains the answers also.
Sir, with great power comes great responsibility. Can we say the same when we talk about the rights and duties that have been provided to us by a legal system? Do they also go hand in hand?
Thank you. Your question contains the answers. That is how I look at your question. See, right duties are the two sides of a same coin, to explain it in short. Therefore, always it goes hand in hand. That is one thing. And to explain little more, I can borrow one question now, only for the explanation purpose. This 51A or the part 4A of the Constitution has been introduced only in the year 1976 by 42nd Amendment. If that is so, before 1976, can we take that there is no fundamental duties at all? My answer is no. Fundamental duties are available either expressly or impliedly. They have made more expressions only by incorporating it in the year 1976. The history of it may not be required for the present. Only to put it in two sentences, between 1975 and 76, there was a lot of revolt against the constitution. Swarna Singh committee was constituted, and based upon the Swarna Singh committee report, this was incorporated. Over to you.
Sir, I have seen that you mention that fundamental duties are more fundamental than fundamental rights. Could you please tell us how?
Okay. Basically, in order to get a right, you should have certain obligations towards the nation. From where you are going to get your rights? You are going to get your rights only under the Constitution. So, if the Constitution has given you right, the Constitution has given you certain, I'll take it in this way. The society, the responsibility, society has given you certain rights, and you have got certain duty towards the society. They are just reciprocal in each other. Your first job is to follow the duty, and the next is the right comes on its own. Mahatma Gandhi, in this example, by considering the aspect of this, what you can say, duties and the rights, he has very correctly or accurately stated that it is something like a spring coming after winter. So, duties and the responsibilities, the rights are spring and the winter. It is a cycle as such. Over to you.
Sir, every right has a corresponding duty, and one can only enjoy a right when he fulfills his legal obligation. How true does this statement hold according to you?
See, I don't want to make them as a straitjacket formula. I'll call them that they go, the examples of whatever you have called it as a hand in hand. I'll only say that it goes hand in hand. But without following the duties, you can't expect it. A small example and the protest in the matter of CAA, what we have seen few days back, either in Delhi or in and around Delhi and some parts of the other states. An effort was made to national flag. An effort was made to dethrone certain important, what you can say, the respect, honorable days to be dismeaningful by the section of the people. So they don't have a right. They wanted to claim that thing only through as a matter of right of expression. How can they get, if they insult a national flag, how can he got a right of protecting or the right it comes of expressions under Article 19? No, he won't get it. Therefore, any person who claims the right, he should follow the duties. And within the meaning or within the bracket of the Constitution, all these things should go on. In the absence of the same, no person can claim absolute right. The absolute right itself has been taken out by the Constitution, Article 19, by providing subsection 2 to that. Over to you.
So there have been calls to strike balance between rights and duties. And even the Supreme Court in Rangnath Mishra versus Union of India addressed a letter to president to direct the state governments to raise awareness about fundamental duties. There have been reports where they want to print the fundamental duties on school books, like they print preamble. So how far the same has been implemented according to you?
With respect, I should say, whether it is a state or a citizen, we have failed to communicate the fundamental duties to our younger generation. You can go, start from A. Rangnath Mishra's case, the report of Justice Verma's report. To teachers, no. There is an example of making use of the law schools and the law students in this efforts. Even that also has not been implemented. That's another aspect of the matter. And in 2002, the Constitutional Review Committee headed by Justice M.N. Venkatachalaya, he has also referred to it, and he had given a more emphasis on the, what you can say, fundamental duties. That has not yet been done. I could say we have failed to implement the importance of the fundamental duties to our generations. Though it has been incorporated in the year 1976, now we are in 2023, almost somewhere near 48, 49 years, we are not yet reached 10% of its implementation. Over to you.
Sir, we find in our ancient texts like Vishnu Puran the importance being given to duties of an individual. And our ancestors also stressed on fulfilling duties, or kartavya as we call it. How much of these ideas do you think find mention under the Indian Constitution?
See, it all depends upon the interpretation. I don't find fault in the Constitution itself. But the constitutional interpreters, some of them who have been at the helm of the affairs, they have started interpreting only the constitutional rights, or what you can say, the fundamental rights. Though I may not to take not more than 30 seconds here, we can I can refer to it, 4 judgments which are most important as a student of law, everybody will be considering it. The number 1, Shankari Prasad's case, fundamental rights has to be protected and you cannot amend. Only in one word I will be completing that. The same thing taken a little different shape in Sajjan Singh's case. The Sajjan Singh case said that you can amend the fundamental rights also. I'm not going to the 368, the provisions of 368. Then comes the Golaknath's case, 11 judges, judgment 6:5. The Supreme Court has taken the view that you cannot touch the fundamental rights. If that be so, once again in the Keshwanand Bharti case, the same problem arose. By 7:6, it has come down to you can amend the Constitution without touching the basic features of the Constitution. Let us not touch the basic feature and the importance of the Keshwanand Bharti this and that. Therefore, what I intended to submit is, these fundamental rights alone have been concentrated in all these days, but there is no connection between the fundamental duties while considering all those things. I request the concerned stakeholders, maybe the government, maybe the courts, they should start interpreting more cohesively the fundamental duties into the fundamental rights chapter. And if you are permitting me to borrow one question here, it will be easy for me. I will borrow that the fundamental duties are not enforceable in nature. That is one more argument that will be canvassed in our argument or in our discussions.
Yes, sir.
The very fact that at this juncture, all those things will not come. The earlier, from 1950 to 1970, if you can take it, even the directive principles doesn't have that enforceability right. However, expanding the meaning of Article 21 and taking aid of Article 14, we were able to enforce the directive principles on the state to the effect that these are the guidelines and you are bound to do so. Likewise, the fundamental duties also, now it has been classified as non-enforceable in nature. But there are instances which I can explain it a little later. In view of the various acts and the judgments, the fundamental duties also being treated for enforceability. And one such example would be Banwasi Seva Ashram case of UP case, wherein to protect the forest, ecological balance, Supreme Court has directed that it is the obligation of a state to protect it. Therefore, the Supreme Court is also taking slowly or leaning towards the fundamental duties. By that process, I think we will be able to enforce the fundamental duties also. Over to you.
So you mentioned how the Supreme Court has been proactive in striking a balance and talking about fundamental duties, bringing it to the forefront. Another case, that is the AIMS Student Union versus AIMS. The Supreme Court has held that fundamental rights and duties be given equal importance.
True.
Do you think that has come to practice in the society?
No. Either by the Supreme Court or by the government, it has not been taken in its true spirit. It should be implemented equally. That is my submissions. Over to you.
And sir, how do you suggest that we bring about that difference to make the rights and duties equal in the society?
I'll go back to Sentencing Committee. Initially, before before this amendment, that recommendation contains a penal provision by the Sentencing Committee. But ultimately, during the discussions, especially one has to read the speech by Mr. V.K. R.V. Rao and the other committee members and the inputs they have received it from the various bar councils, on the state bar councils, bar associations. Then, in its wisdom, the parliament thought that it should be removed from that. Therefore, what I submit is, instead of making it as a penal, we can make it as a compulsory. How that compulsory has to be done is, if you don't do these duties, you are not entitled for certain benefits, which the state is going to give it to the citizens. See, state is giving it due to the benefit to the society as such. When you are not obliged to the society, you are not entitled for benefits, whatever it may be. Maybe a ration card, maybe the health benefits, maybe the education benefits. All these things, they are not entitled to. That's how we can, instead of making it as a penal in nature, you can make it as a more stringent in nature. That's my submission. Okay.
Sir, are reasonable restrictions on fundamental rights and the fundamental duties being statutory duties and enforceable by law, does it make a legal system a duty-based society? What is your view on that?
See, the DNA of society, according to me, is duty-based society. Therefore, in the first question only, I have said that the Indian society is based upon duty-based society. See, you just go to any house, either in a village or except in urban scene, wherever this unitary families are there, you go. What the elders are going, is it right? Is it right in neglecting your parents? Is it right in not affording a medical aid to the so and so? Is it right somebody as a neighbor is suffering? You can enjoy and perform a very big function in your house. Is it not a duty towards my neighbor? Is it not duty towards my citizen? So, once you inculcate the habit of duty, I believe it will be more beneficial to the society. Just for the information, I have to inform you that more than 50 nations, they have separately incorporated fundamental duties in their books. And some may be more stringent, some may not be. But the fundamental duties have been incorporated in the Western society, and Russia, Yugoslavia, China, Japan, about more than 50 nations, they have already incorporated it. And United Nations declaration is there towards that, human rights declaration. So therefore, there is no hindrance for the government to insist on the implementation of the duties on every citizen. Over to you.
Sir, yes, we do have fundamental duties, but there is a popular view that the duties that have been provided by the Constitution of India is vague, they are vague, unambiguous, and superfluous. Are you of the same view? Do you agree with this view?
Absolutely no. See, basically, the Constitution gives only a disha or the direction. It need not emphasize on every small bits and pieces of human activities. To put it in the words, what we can say, what are all the guidelines, the fundamental duties that have been mentioned in the Constitution under Article 51A. They have been classified small a, b, c, d, e, f, g. So each one of it is being supported by the other laws which have been approved by the Parliament. To put it, one or two examples as such, for ideals and to respect the national flag, etc., there's a 1971 Act, which we can call it as a prevention of insults to the national honors. Likewise, what you can say, to promote the harmony, Article 14, 15, and 16 are already available under the Constitution itself. To improve the natural environment, which has been given under 51AG, Forest Act is there, environmental acts are there, various acts are already existing and approved by the legislative authorities, what you can say, the Parliament. The only thing is, we should take the aid of these fundamental duties, take the aid of the Act, and enforce it. That's all I could say. And this fundamental duties also, we can use it for the purpose of interpretation of the statutes also. Many times, the argument will be canvassed by we the lawyers as such is concerned. It goes against the statute, it goes against my right. So when I argue the matter, it goes my right. The counter argument which you can place it before the court would be, it goes against the duties also. The statute has to be understood under the guise of the fundamental duties also. To put it in a very small nutshell, I intend to put it, all the statutes are to be interpreted in the beacon light of a preamble of the Constitution, which should be aided by fundamental rights, directive principles, and the fundamental duties. All the three are supporting them, and it is the total aid will be the preamble of the Constitution. These three or four things have been kept in mind. most of the laws could be decided on those issues. Over to you.
Sir, my last and final question to you would be that during the national independence struggle, there was always an emphasis on country first, self afterwards. However, the fundamental duties, as you have already mentioned, were not added to the constitution until 1976, which was many years after the independence. Why do you think that was the case?
Difficult to answer. Though we have started with very simple questions, now you have put me in a very difficult situation. The accurate answer would be there is some sort of decrease in the values by the individuals. It is, don't take it that it is arising out of the constitution or anything like this. The society started recognizing a person who has got more wealth. Before independence, society started recognizing the person who donates more or who sacrifices more. But now, if you have got a 1 lakh rupees is one thing, if you have got a 1 crore rupees is another thing, and if you have got 100 crore rupees, the receiving by the same society is little different in their approach. So keeping these things, there is some sort of decrease in the societal recognition of the values. Where this mistake committed? This mistake has been committed in the educational system. I can use the word giving a proper education, or if you may permit me to use the word samskara, you have to give the proper samskara to the children, then automatically everything will be all right. That's my answer to you. Yes, madam.
Sir, with that, I'd like to finish off our interview. Thank you so much for sharing your views and enlightening our audiences. It was wonderful to have you talk with us today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
And with that, I, Ananya Singh, thank you for watching Verdictum. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more such informative content. And download the Verdictum app on Android and iOS to keep yourself updated with authentic legal news.